CSM. It had been straightforward enough. "We've done what we can with the access route to the crime, D.I. Hanlon. It was vehicular. We've searched the surrounding radius of the bunker to within 1/2 kilometre, foreshore beach, in case the body was brought in by sea or inland. On the off chance it was carried here, but nada. We assume it was driven here." The CSM had carried on. "Basically, you're fine by us as far as access is concerned. Why the interest, anyway?" The intonation of Hanlon's voice conveyed a shrug. "AC Corrigan wants me to have a look. Ask him." And that's how the call had ended. The World War II building still had a certain forlorn power about it, even though its original purpose, observation, defence maybe, was long forgotten, or possibly preserved somewhere buried deep in a government archive. Now it was being noted by officialdom again. Hanlon peered in through the glassless window. Inside the hexagonal interior of the building, she could see the 2 CSI men in their white disposable overalls, gloved and booted, masked and in plastic caps, working in the blaze of 2 powerful arc lights, powered by the generator outside. She watched as they carried on with their high-intensity light source photography. The inside of the bunker was comparatively clean. The chain door had kept people out, and there was none of the usual smell of urine or detritus like old beer cans, food wrappers, odds and sods of soiled clothing, cigarette ends, or the drug paraphernalia of roaches from joints and needles that you'd normally find in abandoned solitary buildings. The spore of kids, tramps and junkies, the natural denizens of places like this. When she'd first joined the force, places like this were always littered with scraps of photographs torn from pages of porn magazines. She'd often wondered why. If you wanted to look at porn, why do it in a dank, derelict building? Maybe you had to. That sort of litter had become a rarity these days. She guessed it was the digital revolution. Times moved on. The bunker certainly wasn't odour-free, though. Hanlon had a keen sense of smell, and her nose could detect the lingering aftermath of charred flesh and petrol that still coated its concrete shell. It smelt like burnt cooking, a barbecue gone horribly wrong. She looked upwards at the ceiling, and there, as she thought she might, she could see small patches of black, greasy soot, where bits of burnt remains had drifted in the updraft from the flames and come to rest. Hanlon was invisible to the men inside working behind the glare of the lights, and she watched unseen as the taller of the 2 figures started to put photographic equipment away into a dimpled, metallic, silver-coloured carrying case. Despite the noise of the breeze, she could hear their conversation clearly. "So, are we done now, Jim?" one of them asked. The smaller of the 2 men removed hat and mask, revealing a bald head and a thin, good-humoured face. She recognised him. Hanlon was glad it was James Forrest. He was old school, thorough and experienced, not the kind of man who'd make foolish mistakes. In the last year, Hanlon had seen 2 perfectly good verdicts overturned by defence lawyers because of stupid procedural blunders. Forrest wouldn't do that. "Pretty much," Forrest said. "I'd like you to start packing all this stuff away. I'm going outside now. Hanlon will be here soon." "What about the pulsar?" asked the other man. Only after the scene had been signed off by that officer, the police search advisor, could the scene actually be cleaned and returned to normality. Hanlon guessed that in this case there'd be no big rush. It was hardly in anyone's way, like a stabbing on Oxford Street would be. The only people inconvenienced out here would be dog walkers and beachcombers. "We'll secure the premises and speak to the SIO later," said Forrest. The younger man carried on disassembling the cameras and putting the parts away in their respective compartments. It had been an unpleasant day. The girl's naked body had been so charred they'd had to wrap her limbs carefully in oiled cling film so that when they moved her, she didn't break up. One of the officers present had made a joke about liking his meat well done. No one had laughed. "So what's she like, boss, this Hanlon? They say she's a bit of a ball-breaker," said the young CSI. "Is that what they say, Thomas?" said Forrest courteously but firmly. His tone made it clear he had no interest in this line of conversation.